Night was creeping in, painting long, eerie shadows across the quiet town. Despite the late hour, Layla, a young woman in her early 20s, decided to take a shortcut home through the old cemetery. Local lore was rife with chilling tales of the place. Whispers of disembodied voices, fleeting shadows moving amongst the tombstones, and an unsettling feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. Layla, however, was pragmatic and dismissed these stories as mere superstition, tales spun to frighten children. As she walked along the winding gravel path that snaked between the silent graves, a sudden and inexplicable cold enveloped her, a stark contrast to the mild summer night. Faint whispers drifted through the air, as if the very earth beneath her was murmuring secrets. She tried to ignore them, attributing them to the rustling leaves in the ancient trees, and quickened her pace, her gaze fixed on the distant glow of her home. But the whispers grew louder, more distinct, and a prickling sensation ran down her spine, the undeniable feeling of being observed by unseen eyes from behind the weathered tombstones. She glanced around nervously, her eyes straining to pierce the deepening gloom, but saw nothing beyond the long, distorted shadows cast by the towering cypress trees under the pale moonlight that barely filtered through the scattered clouds. The graves, illuminated by the ghostly light, resembled jagged teeth of some forgotten beast. Suddenly, a clear, chilling voice called her name from behind a moss-covered headstone. Layla froze, her heart pounding against her ribs like a trapped bird. She spun around, her breath catching in her throat, but there was no one there. An oppressive silence descended once more, heavier and more terrifying than before, a silence that hinted at something sinister lurking in the darkness. Layla resumed walking, her steps now hurried and unsteady, desperately trying to rationalize the voice as a trick of the wind or an echo of her own fear. But then, the voice called her name again, closer this time, more urgent, as if whispering directly into her ear with unintelligible words. She froze for the second time, a cold dread seeping into her bones, and felt a light, icy touch on the back of her neck, like skeletal fingers tracing her skin. Slowly, her blood running cold, she turned to face the source of the touch, and her eyes widened in sheer terror at what she saw. A pale, skeletal hand, seemingly made of bone and decaying flesh, extended from behind the headstone and clutched the thin scarf she was wearing. A strangled scream tore from Layla's throat as she desperately tried to pull away from the chilling grip, but the hand was impossibly strong, far beyond any human strength. She was dragged slowly and inexorably towards an open grave she hadn't noticed before, a gaping black maw that swallowed the faint moonlight. The whispers intensified around her, a chorus of mournful and hungry voices, as if the restless spirits of the cemetery yearned for a new companion in the eternal darkness. A cold despair washed over Layla as her breath grew shallow and her vision blurred, pulled relentlessly towards the abyss, leaving behind the world of the living and the warmth of the sun. A bone-chilling cold seeped into her very soul, not the cold of the night, but the cold of death itself. She knew with a horrifying certainty that her shortcut had led her to her final destination, and the old cemetery had claimed another soul in its silent, terrifying embrace.